Hi everyone. Believe it or not, I will pronounce the at birth. I wasn't breathing for at least 15 minutes without any oxygen to my brain. Let me tell you a funny story about that. I was talking to one of my friends. He said, Christopher, I can do anything you can do, and I can do it better. I'm like, oh yeah? Don't breathe for 15 minutes. But they told my parents that my evil twin sister was no more, and she was doing okay, but 48 years later, that remains to be seen. But they told my parents that I would never move, never talk, never even walk. I wouldn't even be able to think for myself. They said that I would live my life confined to a wheelchair and a bed. The classified, they said I would live my life confined to a wheelchair or a bed. They classified me as mentally disabled. I gotta tell you a funny story about that too. One of my best friends said, Christopher, when I first met you, I thought you were mentally disabled. I'm like, well, that's funny, because when I first met you, well, let's just say we all have limitations, right? But even though I started to move, talk, and think for myself, they still put me in a box. They still define me and classify me as quote unquote mentally disabled. But I come out of that box by teaching myself how to read, graduating the top of my class, becoming one of the only college graduates in my family. And recently, I just earned my PhD in leadership and change. More people are inspired by my accomplishments, but it only because what they have been taught to believe about a person with a limitation. Let me tell you something. It's not cerebral palsy that limits me. It's society response to me having cerebral palsy that it confines. Confinement is to remain in one place, trapped to something. Confinement is to limit something. It's not only used to isolate people from something, it also used to control one's behavior, to break down the will and emotion to a point that you control their behavior. Think about it. When do we tell our children to go to their room? When they're not behaving the way we want them to behave. a tool that we use to control someone's behavior. And be honest with you, I never felt trapped to my wheelchair, trapped to my body, but I did feel like I was in solitary confinement. I felt like I was not only being isolated from society, but also I felt like I was being punished for not fitting into the social norms that we all feel like we have to fit into. And that's what I felt like all my life. So, the fact that I didn't fit into the social norm really started to bother me because I tried to figure out what was going on with that idea of not fitting into the social norm. I call it social confinement. Social confinement is when you take a person's social identity and you use them to put them into boxes, to make them stand behind a line, or you build walls around them, blocking their worldview. That's social confinement. I travel all over the nation as a motivational speaker, a DNI expert. I realized it wasn't just me. Think about all these subliminal messages society communicates to us every day. Think about one. If you are a person of color, you belong in prison. If you are a member of the LGBT community, you belong in the closet. If you are a person with a limitation, you belong in the corner. If you are a person who is getting older, you belong on the couch. If you are a woman, you belong in the kitchen. And if you have any type of mental health issue, you belong in shame. Think about that a little bit more. In each one of those scenarios, the person had to remain in a particular space where you belong. Very, very confining place to be. Think about it. So, when I think about that, I think not only is the privilege, you not only have to be a part of a marginalized community to be socially confined, you can be privileged and be socially confined. Because the privileged believe in order to hang on to that privilege, they have to embrace biases and stereotypes and preconceived notions about people with all those same privileges. That in itself is socially confined. So how do you become socially unconfined. That's the name of my topic. How do you become socially unconfined? Well, it's a long process with many different steps. But I'm going to demonstrate for you the hardest and most important step that is. I get the mic. Are we good? You say, what are you doing? I'm getting out of my wheelchair. Because I'm not confined to it. I can get out of it. We gonna become socially unconfined. We are ourselves some very difficult questions. Like, what are our wheelchairs? What box are we in because of statistics and theory? What line are we behind because of religion and tradition? What wall do we run into every day because we have to find ourselves and other people by the perspective of someone else? Or maybe what we should be asking is, who have we put in a box by accepting a preconceived notion about them? Who have we drawn a line around by embracing our biases? Who go and run into a wall every day because we tend to stereotype them? We gonna become socially unconfined. We have to get out of our wheelchairs, our biases, preconceived notions, and stereotypes. We have to begin to break all of those boxes. We have to quote some lines, and we have to tear down the wall we built around ourselves and other people. I'm not gonna live my life confined to anything. You shouldn't either.